I'll give everybody a couple minutes to get in here. It's Friday night. I'm not sure how many people will attend. We'll see. What's up? What's up? I'm gonna go over some of the requested pairs that I got on Twitter today, unless you guys have some. That I can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. I do want to go over BNB though. I'm looking for to develop here, so I'll touch a little bit on kind of just my high time frame narrative that I'm looking for and why I want to see a move to the downside. If we look at the weekly, we have this weak low here, failed to make a new high, so it makes that a weak low. We also wicked from an area really close, but we did not clear it, so we just engineered a ton of sell side liquidity there. If we look at the 4-hour, engineering even more sell side liquidity here, these relatively equal lows. I know it's not perfectly equal, but there's going to be a lot of stop losses here. We also have this demand zone resting below. Now, I think Flo and a couple other people are also eyeing the same POI up here around 300 to 301. We've seen the imbalance filled, but I think this is going to be inducement here. And this looks sort of like an accumulation, manipulation, distribution setup, or an AMD. So price came down. We formed an imbalance. The 4-hour already got filled, but we have a 15-minute still remaining. We saw these 3-tap manipulation of lows, displacement under this low, so that's your reversal right there. Now, we have another zone down here. We could expect to pull back down there, but I like this zone as well. We see we had a similar zone here. Price came into it pretty quickly, failed to make a new high. So we got a reaction there, but not what we'd be looking for that AMD setup. And also no range had been formed at that time. So here we have our demand zone, the displacement following it. Then we have this range creation. This is just engineering liquidity on both sides, exhausting retail traders. We see our liquidity run up to fill this 4-hour inefficient price action, and then a violent move down and ran the sell side liquidity. So at this time, we see price run into this POI and do what? Well, in your initial internal break of structure was down here. Why? Because this high made a new low, came up, took that high. So now the market here showed its first sign of strength with little displacement. Now, if we go to a 5-minute, we never really came back down into the true demand creation zone right here. This is what I'd be looking at because we have displacement here, an inside bar. We know an inside bar is a range on a lower time frame. So while price did come up, we have this newly introduced supply that sent us down. It didn't really send us down to where I'd like. Who knows, maybe I get left behind here. The overall bias is I want to go short, remember? Like I kind of built that high time frame narrative for you guys real quick. The overall bias is I want price to push back up into this zone so we can really get those short entries we can hold on to and get a bigger move off of. But think price is going up there and I see a pretty nice buy model, I'll look for an entry, but I'm going to be really picky. So what I'm looking for here is price to return down, sweep this sell side liquidity. We have this inducement right here. That's what I'm looking at this as. We have fairly relatively equal lows, and this fair value gap, this inside bar in the 5-minute. So that's going to be my POI. I'm going to be really picky with this because we are the high time frames on most cryptos bearish. For BNB, actually, we're just still in a pullback in the 4-hour because if you look, theoretically, we are bullish if you're using this swing structure here. We're going to break a structure, so we're expecting a pullback. Where to in discount? Now we got that pullback in a discount, but we did not really go to any kind of high time frame POI, and also form those relatively equal lows. So that's why I think price is going to go lower, along with the narrative we've built on the weekly and daily time frames with these week low or this week low right here, and then this wick coming down, forming that liquidity pool. There's a lot of retail stop losses under here. Everybody's looking probably to short. If we break down from there, there's a lot of sell side liquidity. So that's the overall target. That's how we're kind of building that narrative. Now, when we look at the 4-hour, we have a couple zones we could look at, to get ourselves from. Now, we could wait for price to come all the way up here, and if price does trade in this area, I would look to short it. But where I'm really looking at is where price, we really saw that displacement. So you could draw this zone up here and be done with it. You have that displacement after it, but upon scaling the 15-minute, you have a very clear area where the selling really started. You could use this pivot zone right here. You could use the last couple candles, whatever, but this last candle is most likely where your best entry is going to be at. So I'm just kind of reframing what we're going over. Price came back down after that AMD setup, broke internal structure, giving us our confirmation, but it really never came back down to my POI. So, if the trade goes without me, I'm totally fine with it because I didn't have a trade after all. My trade was if this inducement is cleared and we come down to where I see the demand was really created. May not happen, whatever. At the end of the day, I was just trying to catch and move up to my real entry that I want to take. So here, I'd be looking for price to reverse at some point. If we can get price to move here, I'll go to the 1-minute, look for signs of strength and newly introduced demand to be respected, and I'd take longs there, trimming inefficiencies and highs along the way. I did want to just share that with you guys. To start, I would like to see how this 15-minute closes. If we can close the inside bar here, you might be beginning that pullback. Early longs could get swept, but yeah, so. Sorry, I was taking a bite of this chicken that my amazing girlfriend made for me. So I'm gonna just go over. Unless you guys got coins you want me to do T on, drop them, and you can drop in the comments on YouTube or at me in the late night crypto vibes, the chat, the actual not crypto chat, but in there I won't see it. But if you don't have anything, I'm gonna go and look at some of these coins I need to do TA on for Twitter. We've got quite a few. So where's the tweet? Oh yeah, it's pinned. Duh. Did ADA, AVAX, FTM. So we'll do FTM. So we'll start the weekly time frame. I'm just gonna trash it all so we can start from the top together. So if we look, starting back in the bull run of last summer, we came up, made our new swing high, higher low, higher high. Then price came up, failed to break this high, so we had a weak low here and a weak low here. Both were taken. So when we look, this was our original swing structure, right here and here. That's our weekly high. Break a structure to the downside. So now we've got a new low. Haven't really made a sign that we're going to reverse yet, but at some point after this weekly break of structure, you would expect a retracement. Have not gotten signs of that. So our swing range on the weekly is still bearish. We can go ahead and take our horizontal ray and we can mark our weekly high and our weekly low. AVAX, I can go over AVAX in a second. Gotcha. I actually just marked that up not long ago. A weekly market structure. EX, is that, what's EXCH? That's not Chia. Chia's XCH. I don't know what that coin is. I'll look at it though. I got you. 1 second. So when we look here, where do we when do we expect a weekly pullback to begin? Well, we can use the internal change of character on the weekly, which we have not got. Alone, we haven't got it, so you can't really talk about it. But where do we look for that to occur? We're going to look in these demand zones. Where do I see demand? Now, we could draw it in this last down candle, the last 2 down candles, but honestly, this is where I see the demand creation. This is where we saw displacement. This is where we really saw that pivot into the run up to all-time highs. Fair value gap has not been tapped. So that's probably where your next zone, where I would expect, sorry, excuse me, I would expect to see that change of character. So weekly still bearish. Let me go ahead and put this in here. This is for IRB. He's actually in PlayBit. But yeah, just kind of going over the weekly again. Weekly is bearish, and we are not expecting a retracement yet because we haven't got a change of character. Where are we going to expect it? Down in that weekly demand zone. It's pretty simple. We're building our weekly bias. We want to see price come down into this demand zone. ETH, I got you in a second. Where's this weekly demand zone? Down here. 2016. So now, after I've looked at the weekly, I'll always go to the daily. We can identify these PIs if you want. Yeah, I know you guys are like, oh, there's these order blocks here, but I'm not really entertaining that at this point just yet. First of all, none of these are even in a premium if we're looking at that spectrum. If anything, you'd look for up here, but I'm not really seeing any POIs that I would pay any attention to right now. You got a long time before those would get hit. On the daily, our price swing on the daily is a much smaller range. Go ahead and mark out your daily high and leave the low, since we already know that that is our weekly low as well. So you want to always be mindful with crypto right now, where price action is just not great. It's just very sporadic and all over the place. You still want to mark and just get in the habit of doing that. And you can mark these daily POIs. That way you have an idea if we do start to retrace where we might see more downside from. I like this POI better. Now, I know that some people are going to look at this one and say that's the clear order block. This is up and it's farther in a premium, and that's true, but there's no displacement after it. But I want to really before displacement. So you have that fair value gap there, got a daily POI, so we can mark that up. Okay, now we're looking at the daily structure, because when can we determine when this pullback is going to begin? Now, we can look over here. Seems like we tapped on some demand. You can mark this as a flip zone, because if you look at one point, we had this supply here, price came up, saw our reaction, and we pushed through it. So where was the true demand? It's going to be probably in this wick. Now we can go back and try to put that on a 4-hour and refine it. There's no point now, we've already tapped into it, but that's how you find a flip zone. So we had supply, price came up, you saw a reaction, so your supply zone is valid, push through it. So that, looking back, that's where you could have maybe looked for a reversal if you had plotted this before this down move happened. But when we're looking at beginning of a retracement on the daily, what do we look for? We look for price to come into a high time frame POI, sweep liquidity, which we've obviously swept a lot of liquidity. And then we see an internal change of character. So, when we are looking for retracement of this size, you want to see not only that a first initial change of character like we saw right here, because you could say, okay, well, I'm going to use this candle. That's my demand creation. New demand was introduced right here. So we came up, formed some internal structure, broke it. So now we're making higher highs on the internal structure on the daily, which, it could be swing structure on a lower time frame. We saw displacement, so this is our point of interest. Price comes into it, but does what? Fails to overtake the supply. So it's pretty clear to us at this time, supply is still in control. So the pullback may not be beginning. You just broke that low. So supply came and controlled the market. I mean, obviously, huge wick there. No point even really plotting that, but we can use that to determine that, hey, okay, the daily pullback's not yet begun, so we don't really need to worry about these areas up here. So we actually annotate this. Hey, the way Choach looks at this point. I'm gonna post these up for you guys too and play it afterwards. So that's why I want to start annotating them, because I know a lot of people are not able to see the stream. So that way we can post it up and everybody can kind of get at least something. So, and this is how you should, whenever you're trading an asset, you shouldn't just be looking, what's happening right in the 15-minute right now. And sure, you can make money doing that, but I highly encourage you to just really take the time and build a story and build a narrative, because then you're going to have much more conviction and direction you're going to take with your trading plan. So we know that bearish, weak. This schematic, this could be viewed as distribution on a lower time frame. So whenever we look at the daily, just kind of go back over it, we have signs of a pullback. We came into this daily demand, new demand was introduced, but it failed to overtake the supply, showing that supply is still heavily in control. Sorry. Oh, exchange per, my bad, Milf. You actually, I think that's when you asked me on Twitter. That's why I knew. I was like, I've seen that. Now we go to 4 hour from the daily. I'm gonna hide these now. So, we see clear manipulation of highs here. At one point we could have said that we're starting to see some strength, but price came up into that 4 hour supply zone. If you draw the whole range, actually it didn't really touch it. I wouldn't even worry about that. This is actually something I really want to touch on. So for those of you that are learning supply and demand, when you draw a range this big, and this is how you're taught to do it, because what is supply and demand? Well, it's just an inefficiency in orders that causes price to move to where there is equilibrium of orders. And what has to happen for there to be equilibrium or an inefficiency? We have to have a range. But to draw this huge 4 hour range right here, a little bit much. I mean, that's not where the selling really started. So yeah, price did tap up kind of into it. If anything, I would find this candle right here more of interest, because it's that last candle before displacement. So price came up, filled the fair value gap on the 4 hour. Then we saw that reversal. So whenever we're looking at a 4 hour chart, remember we're using those internal changes of character to determine when a pullback is starting and when it is over. So if we look over here, you had that first change of character. This came up. Now this wasn't really the healthiest move. If here was a nice retracement mitigating these old orders, price kind of came up, and when this happens, you don't. A lot of people want to say, "Oh, I missed the longs. I missed the longs. I'm setting limits here." That's where the next demand is. And while that was short-lived, you got stopped out. Now, why did that happen? Well, price is bearish in the 4-hour, and this was just a pullback. So price came into this supply, this institutional candle, and then we saw that 4-hour internal change of character. Actually, it's right here. Now that's being really aggressive. Whatever, if you drew it there or you use this low over here, it's the same candle that broke it. So then you can look as in this zone right here as your newly introduced supply. Price actually, oh, it reached it about instantly. I'm sorry, I'm not looking left far enough. So then price broke down, and this is internal structure in the 4-hour. We're just using this to determine when the pullback's over, because price has came up, mitigated these orders. It came up into premium like you expect after a break of structure. And now we've seen displacement of the downside, internal break of structure. Prices respecting this newly introduced supply. So then what? We have this flip zone right here. It's going to be this candle. What does price do when it comes to it? Exhibits that weakness and the supply is still in control. So now what are we looking for? At this time, with Phantom, you're looking for it to target weak lows all throughout. So you're looking here, and you're looking here, because these are going to get taken. So, you could look to position yourself in shorts at different, however you execute. Maybe you execute on the 15-minute only, maybe you use the 1 hour, whatever, but you could look for POIs to short from. You don't have to wait for a retracement all the way to premium, because we've already done that. Now, whatever time frame you're using, and maybe if you're using the 15-minute for your immediate bias, well, you want to be in a premium there, but you don't have to wait for that pullback here, because you probably aren't going to get it. You might, but I wouldn't count on it. So kind of re-go over that. Saw a break of structure here. Supply was introduced to the market there that pushed us down, displacement. Price came up, internal change of character, filled the fair value gap, satisfied that supply, new supply was introduced, respected, and then we had that flip zone respected. So we can confirm now that pullback's most likely over and target weak lows. Let me annotate some of this. Fuck. Unmute you, please. Sure. There you go. You're unmuted. You got some mean background noise. That's probably why you got muted. Did you want to ask something, Shannon? You there? Well, let me know if you want me to unmute you again. I will, but there's pretty gnarly background noise, and if you're not going to ask anything, you got to keep your mic muted if you're not talking. But feel free, ask me again if you want to ask something. I'll unmute you. But it didn't seem like you were there. Wait. Actually, I'm not going to annotate that. So this is a good example of what I wouldn't really look at as like a healthy trend, because you didn't. This zone right here, when you broke up from here, you want to see type price action. Like you break up, come just like you did here. You broke up, came right back down into that institutional candle, pushed up. So, but you didn't see that here. So that's just when you can kind of use that to your to add to your narrative of what's going on. Because remember, in the high time frames were bearish, You know, we're seeing that pullback start, but it's just a pullback. You know, it's not like a bullish. Um, it's not like the reversal where we're going to see a bullish swing structure form. So go ahead and post this up. So on the 15-minute, we can go here, get our immediate bias. Because remember, we built our high time frame bias. Remember, we're targeting all these lows over here. Anything we haven't hit yet, here, we're targeting all that. So you're going to want to look to get short. Now, we can look at the 4-hour. The next higher time frame POI I would look at, you can go here. But from there, I'd want to refine that. I'm going to go in the 15-minute. Where can you look at? Right there, that last candle. So you can refine that now like that. And now I would actually look to short if we make it that far up. I wouldn't just set a limit there personally. I would wait for confirmation. So at this time, the 15 minutes pretty clearly bearish. Your swing structure is this right here, down to that low. So now you could look for, if you want to trade counter trend, I probably wouldn't with this coin, but if you did, you'd wait for those change of characters, see what you got. Got 1, 2. So now you want to see probably a move back down into here. And then if you see low time frame confirmation there, you could maybe look to go long. I wouldn't. It's counter trend in the 15-minute, it's counter trend in the 4-hour, the daily, the weekly. It's just kind of like, yeah, it might be there, but it's sometimes better, in my opinion, to look at things from more of a quantity or a quality over quantity perspective. Sorry about that, guys. Internet is fucked up. Let me get YouTube back up and running. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. But yeah, I don't know where I cut off at, but basically I'm just going to use the M15 at this point to frame a trade opportunity to go with my high time frame story. And I know it's like, damn, like it takes a long time to go, and it's really not a long time. It's like 10, 15 minutes, but you want to, any coin you're looking at trading, you want to.
Yo, Casper, I don't think you're streaming anymore.
Is the screen still not up? Oh, it didn't. Now is it good?
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know though. But yeah, so we want to build that story around whatever asset it is that we're trading. That way we have that conviction and we have the direction. It's not about catching every single little move and forcing everything to work the way we want it to work. So I actually like this setup. If we could get a push back up in here, like I'd like to see a nice violent push into this area. I'm actually going to add FTM to my list.
Ethereum looks the same almost.
Is it? I'm sure a lot of shit really is weak. I haven't looked at much today except BNB and now FTM, and I looked at AVAX. So AVAX for Grijov 97. Sorry if I'm not saying it right. You could look for. I wouldn't take this right here, but you could look for shorts off this. I would go to the low time frames once you reach that zone. Go back up to the weekly to get you guys started from the top. So AVAX bulls are gonna be mad at me, but hide that. So when I look at the weekly, price came up here. Here was our old swing structure: swing high, higher low, higher high, broke structure to the downside. So what was the highest point between this low and the new low? All the way up here. So we have a huge weekly range. Delete some of these right here. So when we look at AVAX on the weekly, it's obviously bearish. We left a huge inefficiency way up above. I wouldn't really worry about that. I think we're going to see lower, and you guys might call me crazy, but when I'm looking at this weekly, if I was wanting to buy AVAX, I would wait till here. And that might take a long time, but if I'm looking to buy it on equity, or on spot, not on equity, if I'm looking to buy equity or buy it on spot, I'd be looking around like 13 bucks if I was looking to really get in a position to hold it, because that's where I see the initial rally started from. At this point, when you look at a weekly, I mean, you're just free falling. You have fair value gaps that are going to cause small pullbacks, but I just don't see anything really stopping you. And I don't mean we're going to $13. Like Evan's like, oh, Casper said AVAX 13. I'm not saying we're going to 13 today, tomorrow, this month, maybe not next month, but if I'm looking at the weekly time frame, that's my overall target. And we are bearish. Yeah, we have these POIs up here, but I'm going to look for price to trade down here to my weekly target. So I'm going to build that narrative around that. In the daily, not really showing too much strength here. We did get a or no, I'm sorry, you did not actually. I was gonna say you got an internal structure break, but you didn't. Price is still pretty bearish. You can see supply is in control. These big animated moves down. We just made a new 4-hour range as well. So when we look at the 4-hour range, now we're gonna have a discount all the way down here. So price really hasn't returned back up into to premium yet. So I see, possible areas if you wanted to maybe catch some intraday shorts from, you might see reactions from these zones, because this is the last newly introduced high time frame supply that hasn't been tapped into. There's also a lot of liquidity to be swept on the way up. I wouldn't really look at that as like your bread and butter POI to short, to lows. We need price to come back up into this premium. I think I refined a 15-minute zone over here. Yeah, this is the zone I would watch if we, when we make it up here around 3150. That's where I would be looking to position myself in some swings. You could also look here, but I want that deeper premium. Also, you've had removed at that point, tons of buy side liquidity. He's pretty clear highs here, here, and here. Swept all that. Also filled that inefficiency. So while the weekly and daily and 4 hour everything's bearish, we are also, we're at weekly lows, we're at daily lows. We just broke structure in the 4 hour, and while we pulled back somewhat, we didn't pull back up into a premium. So I think these early shorts could get clapped because they're also weak highs at this point until they make a new low. So we might be able to catch some longs. I do want this sell side liquidity to get removed though first. I think what's going to happen, we're going to tag under that and then move to the upside. So for context, why I drew this earlier is, when we get this close to these targets, it's like, yeah, we're at the bottom of the range, but I really want this to get cleared. So if price comes up here and you scale to the low time frames, you maybe up here, whichever one you want to use, and you get a nice reaction, you could maybe look for that low to get swept, purge out the early longs, and then give you that fuel you need to come back up into the premium of this 4 hour range. But remember, no matter what, until we break above this high and close over it, I'm bearish on all high time frames, and I'm just looking to get short once we come up to my POIs. So EXCH perp. So, I mean, if you use candle closures, you're still bullish on the weekly. Did get these wicks down here. This is kind of a weird one. I mean, you could say these are liquidity grabs, but at the end of the day, I just see them as weak lows because we failed to make a new high. Theoretically, if you're not using those closures, the weekly is still bullish, but on that weekly, it's an odd chart. So we look like we came up into this supply that sent us back down from all-time highs right there. Not really fully satisfied it because it's most likely in this wick, but you came into the zone, price swept liquidity here. Didn't get it. You see how you didn't get a closure there? Didn't get that closure, so price swept that liquidity and moved to the downside, taking out this weak low. But now we've just formed more equal lows down here. Yeah, I mean, and so that would be my overall liquidity target. So it's going to be your sell side liquidity. I can mark my weekly low, weekly high. Or shit. So I wouldn't really pay this much attention yet. I want to see this get cleared before. So if we go to the daily swing range, it's pretty wide. Got all this right there to work with. If you do start to see signs of a pullback, I would be watching that POI right there. If you wanted to be a little more aggressive, you could watch this institutional candle. So I'd watch both of those, but let's see if we even have signs of a daily pullback yet. And I can tell you we don't. So when you look, what do we want to see? We want to see maybe a reversal signified by a change of character in the internal structure in this demand zone. Now when we came down in here, like while we saw a reaction, your initial high was this candle right here. Came down, okay, price came up, made a new high. This is just kind of consolidating. We wicked it, but then you see it's just very weak. The demand is not being respected, just most likely liquidity grabs to the upside. So no signs of strength here. I'm going to refine this on a 4 hour. Hold on. So 4 hour range, obviously still bearish. Go ahead and mark our H4 high and low. Price did return back into this premium. I mean, this to me, I'm sure we could refine that a little more, but when I look at this, it pulled back into a deep premium, and it also swept out the buy side liquidity here. So all that got swept, and you saw price change character. signifying that it could be the end of a pullback. We introduce new supply, and then that wick, this is odd right here. I'd say this was your demand you really wanted to look at to send you back up, because that wick sent you into it. Then you can look, what was your flip zone? That was your flip zone. It was respected, price kind of consolidated within it, and then that new supply was introduced. This is what we found on the daily, so you could refine it. I would refine it to this last candle before displacement, but we want to go a little deeper. I'm going to leave that there, but we're going to go in a little more than that. We have this inefficiency right here. Price front ran this zone. That's what you call inducement. So early shorts, their stop losses are right here. We have this fair value gap ahead. We could look for price. If price came into this zone and I'll refine it, that would be a good shorting zone. But we're going to refine on a 15 minutes. So we look here. At this point, we've swept most of the weak lows except our main, our swing low. So we might see enough liquidity to push back up into this zone. After we swept all these lows right here, we saw, you really didn't, you never really saw a internal market structure break until, really, it's just not, this isn't really healthy. This would lead to me to think that we are going to come up and mitigate, though. I wouldn't even really worry about any kind of longs to try to play this. But what I'd look for is price to maybe come down and fill this gap, hit into that demand, come up, change a character, and then you're going down. That's what I would look for. So we could refine this zone now. We'll go to a 15 minute, because when you have those institutional candles, why it's not showing on minutes. When you have these institutional candles, you always kind of want to refine them, because you can really pinpoint where the selling began. I would say here, personally, in that zone. You could watch both of these areas. Here is more of your flip zone. This is where you kind of learn to just look at price for what it is and not be so technical, because we saw, that supply was introduced, came down, demand shot it back up, supply was respected, new supply came into the marketplace, pushed us down to that demand, but then we reacted, and this supply really pushed us through. So that's going to be a strong zone. Also above that fair value gap, you could look for potential shorts off that level. That's at 7157.8. That would be really the next area I would touch it. I'd wait for price to come up into it. You could get a 15-minute internal change of structure. You could watch whatever you do for execution. That's where you'd look for that. Go back. Since you're in here, actually, is he even in here? Milf wasn't even in here. That's funny. Well, I'll annotate it. If you guys have any other coins, let me know. If not, I'm just going to start running through this list I have to do. Or if you have any questions, Santa, I know you asked me to unmute you, but I'm guessing Milf's maybe watching on YouTube because he's typing. Ocean. It's not like the ocean, it'll look like shit. What exactly constitutes an institutional candle? It's the last candle before a break of structure, usually followed with displacement. It doesn't matter if it's an up or down candle, it's just the last candle before displacement. We'll find one on Ocean probably. I'm going to go ahead and trash it, and we'll start from the top. Looks terrible. ETH. Oh yeah, my bad. Define, you did ask for ETH, and now other homie did too. My bad. I'll do ETH first. So let's go ahead. I'll keep what I have. We have our weekly high up here, and on perps, it's a little odd. Let me do this on Tether. I'll start on a new chart. I think we just actually got to break a structure. Well, not until we close this candle. Well, we haven't gotten it yet, but if you do get this closure under the lowest low was under 1700. If you get a weekly closure under there, you're going to be looking at a new weekly swing range instead of what we have currently, which is this. You'd be looking at wherever we bottom out at, and then that would expand until we start to see a pullback. So given the circumstance we are in right now, we haven't gotten a closure yet, which I would need on a high time frame for a break of structure. So as of right now, that's still my weekly low, and this is still my weekly high. Oops, wrong one. Didn't delete that one. But you're not looking too hot on the weekly here. Crazy. I wouldn't really pay too much mind to it yet, but that's really the next super high interest area as far as the weekly goes. I know there's a couple more in the daily, but so for the weekly, to sum it up, we're bearish. No sign at all of any strength in the weekly chart yet. We probably are about to get another break of structure to the downside, but we'll kind of let that play out.
Fucked. This is fucked, bro. If we get a weekly candle closure right here.
Yeah, if we do though, we could expect a pullback at some point because really, at this point, we've just been retracing this whole bullish move all the way from 1700 to 5K almost. After you get that break of structure, you look for demand zones to maybe see a pullback. But when I look over here on a weekly, and then you could refine this, but I see that demand filled. Demand was created within this range, filled. This demand filled. So it's like in the next zone I see that's not ever been satisfied is down here around $720. But it's not to say, oh, we're going straight to 720 or anything like that. But don't be surprised. So on the daily, swing range is pretty wide. Actually, I would. It's a hard one. I would almost consider that a daily pullback there the more I really look at it. Or if not there, then here. But I would consider this, on a daily. It's a huge move down. But if you see before, when we see this swing structure, here's a swing. And that's all depending on the person. But so I would say, the daily's still bearish, but we haven't closed this day there yet. So I'm going to still say that this is our range. If we get a closure, you got to be another break of structure there. Right there. We also get that weekly break of structure. But then at that point, you could expect a pullback at some point once we start to see signs of strength, but not showing any just yet. Now, there's a very good chance that this is just a liquidity rate under that 1700 mark. ETH likes to come under there and move to the upside, but we'll see. You can't bet the farm or bank on that. So the daily, we're looking at this range. Pretty healthy. They're mitigating. Seems like a pretty healthy downtrend. ETH looks like shit, man. For a range, you're about to make a new swing low if you close here in an hour. It will, if that's the case, where would we look for price to return? ETH just looks rough.
There's a lot of POIs on the 30-minute and 15-minute, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's tons on the lower time frames. But really the one I see that piques my interest, I'm going to refine it, is going to be over here because it's in premium, it's not been tapped, and there's displacement after it. While the displacement has been almost all the way filled, we do have those inducement highs there that did not fill the gap all the way. Here, I guess, if you want to be, you did have displacement there, but if anything, I think the real displacement was here, and we already satisfied that. We already came back into that zone. So to me, the only zone that we haven't tapped is up here. We can refine that in a second, but I wouldn't be looking to continue shorting this personally. I'd want a little bit of upside. I know that I think Flo and other people are speculating that we're accumulating. I think it's possible, but I don't see any confirmation of it yet. I want to see demand introduced and respected, start to see those little higher lows that get manipulated before I say anything like that. But you know, if we close, or actually, no, you did. What am I saying? I just realized I didn't even see this candle. Yeah, you did break structure to the downside. So another break of structure on the 4-hour. So now this is our range, but we are starting to get a better range. I'll say that. I'd rather have this range than the range we started with over here.
Right.
So this would be the main PO I'd be looking to short. Yeah, here you go. You can refine this real nice. What are you watching, Timothy?
But how long you been live?
Like a while. I couldn't hear you till now.
But I didn't even know you was fucking live, bro.
Oh yeah.
Just fucking long to shorted RSR.
Oh yeah. So yeah, with ETH here, I mean, if I'm looking to get in any kind of like swing entry on shorts, I really want price to come up in this area. But if anything, you'd want to look for longs more once the opportunity presents itself. We're under. Let's see if we're in any kind of like daily demand zone. I mean, you could probably find a flip zone within this over here, but like on a 4-hour, let's just see. I'm curious. I wouldn't bet the farm on this one, but seems like you've already violated it anyways. I guess if you draw the bottom range, you didn't. Maybe there's some fractal demand on that wick. This is more just drawing to see. I wouldn't, expect it's the strongest zone ever. But if we start to see, 15-minute. I mean, for me, I would really want to see the 15-minute shift like absolutely bullish, not just internal. I'd want to see a swing structure shift. So that would be a break above 1750. For now, you really just got that right there. I'm gonna 5-minute maybe even find a better POI, I'd say. But again, I probably wouldn't be. I think there's better shorts to be had than ETH here. You're under these, super big liquidity pools from the high time frame. You're in this for it. I think there's better shorts. I think that the shorts are kind of played out. They've been playing out for a while, and I wouldn't rush into trying to short ETH right here, this POI. And that the reason is like the other coins we were talking about, we had those obvious liquidity targets that they just wicked off of and made that double bottom, form that liquidity pool with retail stop losses. But we're not doing that with ETH, so I don't see that high time frame target. So here, if anything, you'd look for be more long biased. But what I would like to see is maybe come up here, clear that liquidity, come down there, and that way you have a better swing range to work from. You form that new low, giving yourself a new high as well. That's kind of what I'd wait on, but I would let this develop. There's no need to rush this. You got a lot of room to work with here.
Whole market look like Dookie.
Yeah. So what's BNB doing? Yeah. Wait on this too, and also the weekends sometimes they're great and sometimes they're not. They're really hit or miss. So if you had a good week, you don't have to degen all weekend. If you want to do something to do with trading, maybe just study, watch some videos, back test, forward test, I don't know, whatever. But don't force setups. Just let them develop. But the one thing I am watching here is these BNB potential longs. If we can come down here, get those low time frame confirmation signals, And then also that FTM for shorts, I'd like this up here. I'm not gonna really take the longs, but you know, even if they get confirmation, you could watch them. You know, whatever. I might watch them and just kind of leave this here, see how it plays out. And for those, like sometimes I see when people draw these, people are like, "Oh, it didn't play out." This is just total speculation. Like until each component is required. Like so, until we get this right here, that market structure break right there, you know, none of that's even confirmed. None of this is confirmed really. So that's what I would be looking for to fill this gap. Price comes down there, new demands introduced, respected, pushed back up to fill this inefficiency. Now I would look to short from here. But yeah, I'm gonna end it on that note. See if I didn't answer any questions. Somebody said,
Can you
go ahead.
chart up Ethereum on the 1 minute?
Sure.
Because when I see like these dips, I don't know, it just looks bullish to me. I don't know why.
So sometimes when I play, like you can play liquidity sweeps, like if they happen during certain times of day, like for instance, if this happened at like 7 a.m., what I would look
Right.
for, here, I'll show you a setup that I scalped on Bitcoin earlier. Right here, this is the kind of setup you'd look for, but you don't want to take them too far. So for instance, like here, this is the setup you like. This is, you see that, and they call it turtle soup, is what ICT originally called it, but I think it was on a 2 minute. You'll see price push back above, and you want, like I said, this happened right. You see a swing high develop right around 1:30 p.m. after the New York lunch. Swing high and swing low. You watch for one of them to get rated, and then once you, how do you confirm that? You see a price, a wick up, you see a strong move down, and displacement after it with a market structure break. So we saw here, price came, it broke down, so that at this point you have your entry. Just enter on the fair value gap, and you just target a low below. And they're not the craziest risk to reward. You know, you could have used this as your stop. That'd be a little aggressive in my opinion, especially Bitcoin. You could use that, and then targeted, you know, this low. It's not terrible. And $3, there's nothing wrong with $3. And like going out is like a lot of people who are just getting into smart money, like don't get it twisted and think like everybody likes to say like only 10R, and like I honestly am pretty picky with it, but there's nothing wrong with this. But it's certain setups it works better for. But 3 to 1, you know, especially if it happens this quick, I mean that's your daily goal, you know, it's 3%. So especially when you don't trim until, you know, till that 3-1, it's not a bad model. But to answer your question, what I'd look for is this right here. So with ETH, first of all, the time of day and also that it's the weekend, I personally wouldn't look for it. Looks like you may have even got it. No, you can use like the 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, all those time frames.
What caught my eye is the 5 minute point of interest. I think it was 30 minute. I don't know.
See, for me, what I'd wait for here is like we are under these old lows, but like, so I see, you know, pretty choppy price action in the 5 minute. You know, we came, you know, here was really your first internal change of character, but it's sloppy. It's like this, like you're developing trendline liquidity. You're not really respecting. You know, it's just not a healthy move to the upside. It's probably going to get cleared out. So, you know, yeah, we broke this, and you had demand. It immediately got disrespected. You know, prices coming back down. I think this needs more time to develop. You want to see healthy structure, but personally, I mean, you might find something here for sure, but I'd wait. It's Friday night. Volume's probably pretty low. It's actually higher than it was some of today. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I was looking at that wrong. I was in a 5 minute. But yeah. So but yeah. Also, Boston. I'm gonna be doing some more forex analysis, a lot more in the coming future. So I will, but I am gonna hop off here for tonight. You guys enjoy your Friday night. Enjoy your weekend. Tomorrow, I'm gonna do a class for you guys. It'll be at 1 Eastern. So that way, everybody, you know, on the West Coast can attend. You just get up a little early. Don't get too hungover tonight. And I'll give you guys some homework. Do it if you want, don't do it if you don't want, and we'll kind of really hammer out what supply and demand zones to use, because you can understand market structure and you can understand liquidity and supply and demand, but if you're not using the right zones, say price comes up into a POI you've drawn, and you get everything you need from the structure, but then you get a false signal. Oftentimes, it's just that your POI was incorrect. I know that I've had that issue in the past. Like when I first started using order blocks a while back, I used to just, everybody wants to just use every order block. You know what I mean? But we're gonna go over that tomorrow, give some examples, and that way we can get everybody up to speed on which ones you want to use and which ones you don't. But I appreciate you guys as always. Enjoy your weekend, and until tomorrow, I'll talk to you later.